So folks, I pose to you a question. Have you ever played a competitive game and ultimately came to the realization that the success that you're having is either because of a tank or a support or a healer? And if that is the case, and you're also a sports fan or something like that, especially a football fan, I wanted to touch on something that I feel like hasn't really been looked at in ESG, and that is the experience that I had with blocking, whether it be on D-line or O-line, and the fun and the enjoyment that you have from playing that role. And the comparison from a competitive standpoint that I would like to make is think healers in Overwatch and think tanks in Overwatch. Ultimately, a lot of the highlights and things that you see from DPS, whether it be any of those plays where they're getting a 6-man ult, 5-man, 4-man, those things typically aren't possible if they don't have heals or the support, the support of their team, their tanks, to fill in those roles. And that's really what I'm here to break down and tell you guys about in today's video. And as always, with this still being my experience with the closed beta, there will be no gameplay provided. I'm simply talking about my experience. You take that at face value. I could care less what you say in the comments.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Now, whether that be choosing to react to blitzes, choosing who to engage on a block, it really makes playing offensive line feel genuinely tactical. It's actually rewarding to get a pancake and make those second level blocks. I think comparatively, whenever you look at wins as a support or as a healer or a tank in games, it's not always going to be the plays where that said healer or tank is doing something otherwise that DPS does. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to make these comparisons so you guys understand that there was thought put into this game by the developers for each aspect of the game. And I remember thinking that to myself. Obviously the O-line and the D-line typically are the unsung heroes in football. That's just the way it is. I mean, that's the nature of the game. But whenever you do make a pancake block or you make that downfield block that allows a wideout to, make that breakaway to the edge and score a touchdown, or whether it be hitting that block for your run back to hit the outside, it doesn't matter what it is. The scenario that you're provided, you get that I made that happen feeling every time that you do hit that block or you do make that pancake. It's a very rewarding feeling. And honestly, going into the next playtest, if I do get the opportunity to, I will probably heavily lean into either something on the defensive line or the offensive line because like I said, I played tight end, so I did get some experience blocking, but a lot of it was still going to be, maintaining my route and just, because that's just the nature of we were run plays, passing, and it wasn't, setting up too many blocks. Obviously, if you're the fullback or whatever it is, you're going to be focusing heavy on that. But for me, I think about the O-line and the D-line, and like I said, they nailed it. I will say, for the experience of it not feeling like I'm not doing anything. And the same thing can also be said about the D-line. Whenever we talk about engaging, shedding blocks, mechanics, movement, whatever that be, swim moves, things that you would think that you would want to be able to do. It's not just a button mashing fest. It's a rewarding thing to do as well whenever you're playing on D-line. It's definitely about timing, moves, reading your opponent, shedding blocks, and setting up counters and rushing the passer. All of these things genuinely feel rewarding, and you can see what you're doing happening in game, because the idea of it being all control, user controlled players, like that pressure immediately translates. You can tell if you're doing your job or not, if you're not making tackles. And obviously it's similar to Madden, where you have the option to break down and have better lateral movement for your pursuit angles on tackles, and that same thing is also used in vice versa on offense whenever you're picking up blocks. So how you would hold at least on an Xbox controller, like left trigger to break down and have a better base of movement, to whether it be push the ball carrier more into your team, so you have a better chance at actually getting the tackle, or just finding a better angle of pursuit on offense or defense for shedding blocks and tackling. Like the pursuit angles and the way that they thought about it, you can see it's in the game. You can see it in a reflection of each instance of gameplay. It's not like it. I didn't feel like each position was getting more spotlight than the other than the fact that it's just how the game plays. The running back has the ball, quarterback has the ball wide out. I didn't feel like they didn't pay attention to the lineman experience or the blocking experience. And I feel like that speaks volumes as to the level of importance that they're putting on the competitive field, and how important is each player's experience is to all the people at ESG as well. Truth be told, I would say that when I was playing defense, being disruptive, whether it be D-end or outside linebacker, but like I said, we're talking about primarily the line experience, applying that pressure, it provided the same level of reward and satisfaction as hitting the highlight reel interception, or getting that highlight reel interception, or because ultimately that wouldn't have happened without that pressure applied. honestly, I think a great pass rush makes your QBs makes horrible decisions, and I felt that a lot whenever I was playing the beta with other players, other members that had access to it. And I wish I would have spec'd more into like pursuit, engaging, impact, pass block in pass rushing, because I feel like that I just didn't delve into that enough. I wasn't expecting the O-line and the D-line experience to be as fun and engaging as it was. Like I said, the best parallel that I can draw from a competitive standpoint is something similar to Rivals or Overwatch whenever you are playing support or healer, whatever that may be. Like I said, you're setting up your running back in those skill positions to make those highlight plays, and you feel it. And I know that the running back and the quarterback feel it as well. Like they will know if they have a trash offensive line or a trash D-line. Like I said, we played primarily 4v4, and whenever this does develop into 7v7, you're going to have people in those positions, and you're either going to have blown gaps, you're going to have people rushing through gaps, you're going to have people either holding their blocks or not. And this is going to be player responsibility. You got to be accountable for that. And this is just another level of the game that I feel like they have to offer that the current market of football just doesn't have. I spoke about it previously when I said in other games, it's very touch to touch. You're just swapping to the best position on the field that's in the closest proximity to the ball. Now, if you blow, your coverage, you're supposed to be somewhere, you're supposed to pass rush somewhere, you just feel that. You don't just get to swap and be like, I'll just go try and make that angle of pursuit on this guy. If you blow that, you blow that. I think the bigger picture of it is that everything in this game matters. The trenches matter, and every great offense and defense, you have to start up front. Ultimately, I'm trying to really paint the picture as to why the O-line and the D-line trench experience really just matters, especially for ESG as a whole. Every great offense flat out, and every great offense and defense actually starts out with really just the solid front lines. And you're not just like I mentioned as reference, those shooters and like Overwatch and those other role-based games, you're not going to win those games without good tanks, healers, supports, or quote unquote the unsung heroes of the game. You can't win an ESG without strong line play, flat out. If you have people perpetually just getting through on offense and defense, whatever it is, if you just suck, if we're just gonna put in layman's, if you suck at that position, or you don't take the time to actually do more than what I mentioned, button mashing and actually paying attention to what's happening on the field, where to apply pressure, when to apply pressure, you're not going to be successful in the offensive or the defensive line experience. And it played so much more of a pivotal role than I expected it to. And like I said, I wish I would have played it more. I think the overall conclusion is, if you're sleeping on the offensive line or the defensive line experience in ESG and you think it's going to be some afterthought, I promise you it is not. And they have attributes and build points that go specifically into whether it be pass rush, rush block, engagement, all the different things that I feel like that you could more than likely think of in the offensive and the defensive line experience are all broken down on individual point levels, and they're going to let you allocate and make a mean ass offensive lineman just like you would a dope running back. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like an Olin Kreutz build, or like, famous, linemen, or just big men type builds, like a fridge line, William Perry, the fridge lineman build, where bro picks up the ball. Or I don't know if they'll have something like that, but the fact that what I'm ultimately saying is the opportunity to make the offensive lineman that you want is actually there, and the D line that you want is there, and it's not this afterthought. It's going to be a dope experience, and I think this is such a unique experience that I feel like this has to be touched on, so that that's available. With it being the first opportunity at an open world game where you're creating your own character, like I said, we've never seen something like this. So I naturally went in, like I said, thinking about skill positions. I played wide out. I got a little bit of running back in, tight end, and free safety, cornerback, but not as much offensive line and D line as I ultimately wish I would have. And I'm really looking forward to that with my next playtest. With all that being said, my offensive linemen, unsung heroes, I'm telling you, stand up, brothers. Your time is coming for the first time in a game where you can create your own big boy and handle business. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. If that's something you're looking forward to, be sure to, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and see when these updates are coming out. I'm hoping to get access to it again at some point. But whenever I do, I will surely be definitely tapping more into the offensive and the defensive line side and bring you guys some more insight on that. With that being said, it's been your boy Turk here at SGN. Peace.